Hi everyone, it is me, your host Nina Collymore, and I am here today with Miss Maya Jones, and today we are going to be talking about Generation Z. Now, we have just entered a new year. A lot has happened since we have, and I don't think it's even been a full 2 weeks, but instead of focusing on all the negative things that are happening in the outside world, me and Maya are going to have a discussion about our generation, Generation Z, the class of 2021. We're about to graduate, and how we are going to be the change makers, the game shakers, the the generation that changes things. So Maya, hello, how are you doing today?
I'm all right. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm sure you've heard and seen on the news as well as I have what's been going on, but I want to talk to you, as I said before, about how we are going to be the change that we want to see in the world and what we can do to make that happen. And we, like I said, entered a new year. We are changing generational stereotypes. We are present in what is going on in the media, and I believe that our voice deserves to be heard. What about you?
Definitely. I see how our generation is more open-minded
Yeah,
compared to those that were in the past. We are more opinionated and we are definitely more bold in our generation.
right. So I actually looked up a website called wgu.edu, and they describe Generation Z as someone someone in our generation as someone who needs less validation and tries to meet the expectations of others. We are more independent, more entrepreneurial, more communicative, more competitive, more motivated by security, and driven by career and financial goals. Is there anything that you would add to that list to describe us or even yourself as someone in this generation?
Honestly, I wouldn't have anything to add. I would agree with every single point that we made. I've had friends that have all started businesses so young, and it's very inspirational. And our generation, like I said before, definitely will communicate their thoughts. It's
Yeah.
very different. And I have family members that will say, "Oh, you guys are definitely more outgoing and out there than how they were when they were teenagers."
Right. And it goes into detail about saying we have a desire to create and to find meaning. We have a motivation to contribute to the world and being highly educated, culturally diverse, and a desire for our own personalized experience. And with that last point, I think it means like we have a desire to create a reality that we actually want to live in. And I would ask you, how do you think we need to go about doing that? How do we need to create the safe spaces that we want and to create actual political environments that fit us and who we are?
I would first start off with coming down to the reality that we live in the United States. That's it. There's no multiple places that we live in. We live here. And I see the problem with past generations that even now we are so divided. And it's been years, it's been hundreds of years since we've had wars, but we look at now and it's just in a different format. That's all it is. When the
Mm,
reality is, we have to come together and understand that we all live here, we are all surviving on this planet called Earth. And we need to recognize that we're individuals, but we are also a team. And I feel that with our generation, we do more of that. Even though we are all creative and we have our all different opinions, we learn to respect each other and hear each other and what one of us has to say.
right. I really appreciate that. And now I'm going to play devil's advocate really quickly, but would you admit that we do have some weaknesses in our generation? And if so, what would they be? Like, what could hinder us from actually accomplishing the goals that we need to in order to be successful?
I don't want to like pinpoint as far as education, but
Mm-hmm.
we're taught in school certain things and we're taught a certain way. And from that, we don't get to be as creative as we want because everything is here is the reality. This is what it is. And now tell me what each event is rather than form your own opinion. It's more factual. There's no opinion that you can put in place as much as when we were. And I feel that from the educational system, we needed just a little bit more freedom in order to truly come to our own mind and truly grow our own brains and not have something in front of us and just go based off of what we see because we want to be able to discover.
Right. And I want to also like remind you and tell you that you're free to ask me questions. You know, this is more of a conversation between two very sophisticated and educated young women of the class of 2021, which I'm so proud to say. And I want to know, like, what are you looking forward to for the future? And do you think you're going to be one of the people to like have your voice really heard? I know you have a podcast and you are very open in speaking about, you know, problems and issues or anything that you feel passionate about. What do you look forward to in the future?
Yes, I have a podcast. It's called Talks with MJ. It's available on Spotify. And from that, my goal is to become a radio host because I've learned that the youth of today are very influential. And once they want something out there, and they will get it. And from that, I feel like I can be more productive because I understand that with youth, the news, as much as we want to, watch it, it's just so bad that people don't want to watch it anymore, especially the youth of today. Rather than hearing it on the radio in early morning to start your day, that's the goal that I hope to have. But I do have a question for you. As far as with the educational system, how do you feel that it can improve for future generations like ours?
You know, I think it goes back to our teachers. When you have someone who loves to teach and who loves to like share information with students, I think you'll get a better education because you have someone who's passionate about what they're doing. But for our teachers in the United States, it's harder for them to be passionate about teaching us, even though they are, and they do the best that they can, but they are not paid enough for what they do. And for us to have free education is actually a blessing, and it's not offered everywhere. And I think we don't take enough advantage of what we have. And it's because we don't see it. We don't see like that other people in other places don't have the same resources that we do. And so we take for granted the types of opportunities that we have. And education can be in the forms of programs that we have. Even in Memphis, there are so many programs for students, and it can go as far as like having a mentor. But we need to show more appreciation for our teachers and not just thanking them, but also financially. And the person who was actually, I believe, the director, Betty, I need to look at her full name again. She just stepped down as the chief of education. And a lot of people are actually pretty happy about it because she didn't have any former like experience in the field of education at all, and actually made a lot of setbacks happen for teachers in our field. And I'm personally thankful for whoever will come next, and am hopeful that they will have that experience and can help our teachers, because if you don't have a good teacher, then you don't know what type of education you will be getting. And it also goes back to what you said about the type of information that the government in our city and in our state is choosing for us to learn, because we are not learning every single thing that that has been taught in the world. We're learning what they are choosing for us. And I don't know how those decisions are made. And we also don't know if we're missing out on anything. But what are your thoughts on that? What do you think needs to change in order for us to be successful as far as education?
I would definitely agree. I feel that we can't do anything without teachers because we have to learn. And I look at my teachers today and I feel, they definitely deserve more appreciation than what they're given, especially financially. I have, as far as with teachers, going back to that, with the way our technology is growing and enhancing, do you feel that teachers will be more involved or less involved in the future as far as with education? Because now we're in a virtual setting and not everyone is speaking to their teacher directly. It's more emailing back and forth. Do you feel like that will continue or decrease as we go farther down the line?
Before I answer your question, I just want to add, so the Secretary of Education, that's her title, Betsy DeVos, she's the one who has just recently stepped down. Just want to add that in there for our listeners. But you said, do I think teachers will be needed more? I think they will, but as far as us being able to access them, I think it will be difficult, if that makes sense. We don't have enough teachers, or we also don't have enough people signing up to be teachers because of like that financial component, and also because it's kind of harder to teach in more in the inner city areas. It's more of, to be honest, teaching children how to behave because of maybe the background, and this is mostly true for the SCS Memphis area. We have a lot of students coming from households that are not as stable, and they're coming into school and they need more emotional support than they can actually get the education they need. So that's also a major setback. And sometimes teachers are the parents to these students. And I think we will definitely need them for that emotional support. But because of the way that technology is coming into play, we may not get to see a lot of teachers. But my question for you would be, was outside of education, I guess when it comes to the economy of the U.S. and the U.S. government and how we interact with the world, do you think we are doing a good job at interacting with foreign countries and supporting each other? Because Gen Z isn't just in the U.S., it's, in the world too. And when you say come together, I think you mean we all have to come together.
I would feel that with our generation, I definitely would agree that we are more open internationally simply because we have all of these resources of social media. People are now more into learning about different cultures than how it was before. I have friends that are more, into the K-pop culture. They are learning more Korean, Chinese, and no one wants, I feel like with our generation, it's not just about staying here, but it's about really going out there, not being scared to leave the United States and really put themselves in a different place, even though they may be scared of. So I feel with our generation, we are definitely more open towards international. And I feel like we'll have a better communication with them because, one, we all grew up together. We all went through a lot as a country because of the pandemic, as the world, because we all went through this one thing during the same time. It wasn't only here, but it was everywhere. So I feel that we will be able to communicate because we have that intertwining relationship component already.
Right. And that actually goes back to one of the points that the website made, that we are like a very diverse, we're more open, like you said, to actually talking with people from across different countries. And I think we have a less bias too, because like you said, we grew up together. America is more diverse than it was yesterday. Like people are always coming in and out. And so I think that's really cool. And I'm very hopeful for like us being able to actually interact with different cultures and on a level that is actually friendly. And we don't get to see that a lot presented in the media. Like usually when you see two people of different ethnicities or two different cultures, whether it be a group or individual, they're not shown in a great light. And I want to know how you feel about like how the media will change. Like a lot of people in our generation, they're getting into news and media, and we're kind of also the people to debunk like things that are false, but we're also more like eager to hear things and before actually looking them up. It's like a double-edged sword. You have people who are I don't think that's true and going to check the facts. And then there are people who are like, oh, it's on the news. That must be right. So how do you think the media will change as we grow?
Wow, I feel like it definitely has already started changing. We look
And you're
at
in
cancel
media.
culture. Yes. With the cancel culture, it
Oh,
went
yeah.
crazy. Everyone was like, "Oh, this person did this." They researched, they found everything out because they wanted to be sure that they wanted to not put someone on a pedestal. And I truly appreciate that. They wanted to show that people will make mistakes. No one is better than anybody else, and people need to recognize when they have messed up. So I definitely appreciate about our generation as a whole. As far
Mhm.
as with media, I'm very confident in our generation because some of these people are stalkers. They will really find out the nitty gritty details about someone's life, and they will find out if something was wrong, if something was falsely accused. And I'm confident that whatever they put out will be able to be backed up with the facts. So I'm excited to see that in the future because I hope to continue to do that.
Yeah. But I'm kind of scared about, like the route that we're going in a way because I don't know how like when it comes to cancel culture, what you were talking about, um, it feels like, okay, this person does something wrong. Okay, well, we are never listening to their music again. We're never like supporting them in any way. Um, and I guess it was created to kind of humble people, and it was kind of more geared towards celebrities, I think. Like when a celebrity, that's what I see more of like today, like canceling people who are celebrities. And I feel like even canceling someone who has a higher status in our society is kind of putting them on a pedestal. Like their opinion shouldn't matter so much, but I see why because they have a good influence on people or a great influence, and they could be spreading false information or whatever they're doing is so harmful that someone else watching them would like do the same thing. So I kind of understand it, but I don't know how to feel about that.
I can see that it's a double standard, definitely. Because I understand the point that if we're canceling someone that messed up, then it should be the same for everyone. It shouldn't just be the same for celebrities. It should be more so a lesson, as I would
Okay.
put it. It shouldn't just be, oh, well, you did this, never talking to you again, never gonna speak to you again. It should be more so, well, you made this mistake. I wanted you to know that you made this mistake, and I want
Hmm.
you to learn from it. And so I definitely see where you're coming from with that. I would be scared if someone found out, like I said one wrong thing, and then forever, for the rest of my life, I am
Yeah,
canceled.
that's all
So
you're known.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But it's all about the approach. Like the way you described it, like, hey, you did this, this isn't okay, and it's not okay because this. And not just like when it comes to someone who's like on a, I guess, higher status, but when we call out the Karens, call out people who are, doing things that seem to have a hidden or darker meaning behind them, and doing things that look racially motivated or that have bias, and acknowledging them instead of saying, oh my gosh, you are this, you need to. No one ever learns from that. Like if you just bash somebody for them making a mistake or them showing their true colors, maybe on how they really are, even though it may make us feel angry or upset at them, I think we have to kind of calm ourselves down and be like, okay, maybe this person is ignorant to what they are doing. So let's not give them a pass, but you have to address them in a way that they will understand what they are doing is wrong. Because if you come at someone in a way that's aggressive, then they'll get aggressive back. And I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about that?
I definitely see them being aggressive back. We have a tendency to, like I said before, be bold. And
Yes.
sometimes our words cannot, it is not communicated very well. We
Yeah.
have to learn more about how to not dumb it down, but not sugarcoat, but really be respectful. I
Yeah.
feel like sometimes we're missing that respectful factor. It's more so, well, you did this and this is it. There's no common ground, and I feel like that is something we definitely should work on as a generation because that is not always the best. As far as with music, I know that a lot of people will say, "Oh, I love old school music way more than I love new
Hmm.
generation music." So with you, do you feel like our music influence is better, or do you feel that it will still be living in the past from other decades?
That's a good point because I didn't think about that. Like, and media also like contains music, and that's one of the biggest influences. And I think it's, I think it's both. I think we nothing has really changed. Like the messages that have been sent out in music, they haven't really changed. But you do see them more, I think. They're more highlighted, I think, in our generation. Um, but also, you have to go find it. It's kind of hard to explain for me. Like, you don't really hear, like, on the radio, like on the regular radio stations, like, um, deep or like subliminal message music being played like that. You hear things that are kind of like brainwashy or just
Surface
they're
level.
just fun. Yeah, they're not controversial. They're not controversial topics. You kind of have to go find that type of music, but it's always existed, in my opinion. But not everyone is a fan of it, and not everyone is open to listening. Like, not everyone wants to hear, the truth or the reality that we are living in all the time. Some people just want to, listen to music and listen to things that they relate to or listen to a lifestyle that they want to live in. And I think that's really dangerous because music is one of the greatest influences of our time, especially. Like, because of music, I think people, they try to live the life that they're hearing because it sounds good and it sounds cool and it's popular. And sometimes whatever it may be, it's not, good. But do you think that good music, whatever that may mean to you, is played more than the music that is kind of questionable?
I feel like my good music is always questionable. I look towards when the video with Childish Gambino came out with "This Is America." That was one of the most controversial music videos that was talked about for a long time because it had so many different meanings behind it, but it also told the reality of the situation. And I remember there was one particular moment in the music video, and it showed how the youth were dancing while everything chaotic was going around, and it showed that the media is shoved in our faces that we don't look at the bad things. We only look at what is shown to us and what is highlighted. And I feel that that was a really deep message. And I wish that more music like that was played so that way it went into what other people were thinking, and it got highlighted that this is what we're doing, guys. We're not really paying that much attention. But now looking at where we are now, I definitely feel that youth are starting to get more involved with the news and understanding what is really happening, like the events of last week.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm glad that um, the influencers are noticing it too. And that's causing them to also make that type of music that makes us ask questions. And it's a really, like you said, it's an important thing. Like, it needs to be heard, and a lot of things need to be said. And some of the best ways that it can be done is through music. And I definitely see what you're saying. Yeah, it has been shown way more. And the proof is in, like, like us being on TikTok. I see so much more people talking about what's going on in the world on our social media platforms that we're present on. And what I think needs to change, the idea that we are not as present, they don't see us. They don't see us in their spaces. I think if more students, if more youth, if more of our generation, if we put ourselves more in the platforms of those politicians, of those lawmakers, if we go on their spaces, because we're doing it on Snapchat, on TikTok, on Instagram, we're very present in what is going on in the world, but not in their spaces like as often as we should be.
I definitely agree. I completely see the standpoint. And it was more so, which is why it was so funny to me when our president currently was trying to get TikTok deleted from
right.
He was mad because we were really sharing. We were really coming together and saying, we don't like you. And I feel like if we're given the opportunity to have our opinion truly heard, that we would be more open on those platforms. It's more so that they don't really want to hear our opinion. So we created our own platforms that we wanted to use so that way we can support one another and hear each other's opinions. I never see youth on the news asked about their opinion. I see those that are older asked, not more so just us. We may be highlighted, but it's unlikely rather than hearing someone who is from Generation Y.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, we have 5 minutes left, so I wanted to let you give any closing remarks that you want to add, any shout outs that you want to make, or just how this conversation makes you feel. What do you think the next steps for you are? What are you going to do now after this?
I want to continue to talk to you more because I love being able to hear your opinion and seeing it from a different standpoint. I love being able to hear different youth share their opinion because it's not always going to be the same as mine. And it teaches me to be more open-minded, and it teaches me great communication skills. And I feel that with the podcast that I have, I want to continue to safely interview more guests and be able to influence other people into truly learning more about who they are and about the world. So I want to thank you for that. How about you?
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I love the fact that you said safely interview. That's so important. And I want to highlight the fact that you said that because we are a generation that we want to make sure that the people around us are taken care of. And I really appreciate you for saying that and doing that and making sure that first and foremost, like the state of our mental health, our physical health, and our spiritual, and the way that we interact with each other is not in an aggressive manner. And we didn't agree on everything, but the conversation just flowed so beautifully. And I appreciate you for being an amazing guest. And I do hope to talk with you more in the future. And I think this was a great conversation. And I'm so looking forward to hearing more of your podcast. You guys, can you please restate the name of it again for our listeners? Please go check her out.
It is Talks with MJ, TALKS with MJ.
Right. Thank you so much, Maya.
Thank you so much for speaking with me today. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This is amazing.
Right. Miss Janice?
Good job, guys. For those listeners on 88.5, you've been listening to two of our student Congress members from Shelby County. Nina Collymore, that serves as our host, She's from Middle College High School. And Maya Jones, she's a senior from Overton High School. Next week, we tune in, and Maya put together a survey that's going to go out to all of our high school students to get their input on how they're coping with this virtual learning. And also, we hope to have a couple of teachers on also, because we know that if the students are struggling, then our teachers are struggling as well. So tune in next week, next Thursday at 4:30 on 88.5 with Mr. John Best. And Maya and Nina will be back, and they will be bringing with them two of their teachers to talk about virtual learning. But today was really great, Nina and Maya. I really appreciate you guys for coming together, and Nina for always just hosting and doing a great job. Maya, I'm going to check out your podcast. And as we approach Black History Month next month, so be prepared that we're going to bring together some very powerful women. A lot of times we talk about Black history, women kind of get ignored and left out. But Maya and Nina and Kayla also from Bolton, I think Kayla's from Bolton. We're going to bring together a group of powerful women to talk about their role and our role in history, especially dealing with the election that just happened and the role that Black women played in this past election. You know, I wish I could get Stacey Abrams on to have a conversation with you guys. That would be so awesome. But that's what we got to do moving forward. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in.